I think Mr. Barr is trying to make a comment, and we will start just as soon as he gets, Mr. Barr.
Well, the deal is that if you can make it in Ypsilanti, you can make it any place. So congratulations, Kim.
Thank you, sir.
All right, yes, it is very bittersweet. So we can all say all that on the 20th. So if Clerk Kalinga, if you would call the roll, please.
Just as a reminder, please announce your physical location after I call your name. Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Present remotely from City of Ypsilanti, Washtenaw County.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Present, Washtenaw County, City of Ypsilanti.
Councilmember Somerville,
Present, City of Ypsilanti, Washtenaw County.
Mayor Richardson,
Present, City of Ypsilanti, Washtenaw County.
Councilmember Morgan,
I am on the move through Washtenaw County, heading toward Ypsilanti City. Present.
Councilmember Simmons, Mr. Jones Chance.
Present, City of Ypsilanti, County of Washtenaw.
Council with 6 present, there is a quorum.
Thank
To
you.
excuse Jennifer Simmons.
Is
Support.
there support? All in favor?
Aye.
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 She is excused.
Council, moving on to the next item is agenda approval.
So move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda as written. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, thank you. The ayes have it. The agenda is approved.
Council, moving on to the next section, we come to public comments. If a member of the public would like to raise their hand, please do so. You'll have 3 minutes to address council. An individual had their hand raised and then lowered their hand. I'll give a few more moments for the individual had their hand raised again and lowered it. Okay, I'll give them a few more moments. Seeing no hands raised, we can move on to the next section, which is the consent. Oh, I apologize. I actually have a comment to read that was forwarded to me on Friday from Reza Rajabi. I'll start the timer on myself. I can't use Zoom, therefore I am writing this letter hoping to reach the citizens of Ypsilanti. For the past 4.5 years, the city has denied issuing me a certificate of occupancy for no legitimate reason. I have called and left messages for the mayor and my ward city council members several times, and they are not returning my phone calls. I have a copy of a certificate of occupancy for my property as 4 studios versus what the city wants, a duplex with 3 bedrooms in each unit. 4 studios will have an occupancy of only 4 people. 6 bedrooms will have the occupancy of 6 people. I have practically downsized. What is the issue here? The city planning office has allowed several basements to be converted into living spaces, and Mr. Myers is penalizing me for no wrongdoing. I have not added any part of my land as a living space to my property, but the city has allowed an alley behind Deja Vu and a new restaurant Bellflower at 209 to be added to the building. Why? The city violated my First Amendment right by barring me from going to offices to conduct my business as a landlord. Such decisions should be made by the council members, not the city administration. I am behind on my property tax payments at no fault of mine. I am from the Middle East and the city is discriminating against me because of my ethnicity. Question, Mr. Myers, why did you issue me a certificate of occupancy as 3 studios and 1 bedroom if my property is zoned as a duplex? If no other member of the
Thank
public-
you.
You're welcome. If no other member of the public would like to make comment, we can move on. Okay, we do have a hand raised. George Hagenauer, I'll allow them to speak now. You have 3 minutes to address council.
Actually, a clarification question first. Should questions or comments related to resolution 2021-215 be done at the time of the resolution or now?
Public comment is to be done during public comment. There's no back and forth with council during the reading of resolutions.
Okay, so it's not a situation where it's tied to specific resolutions. My basic comments are a number of things. One is we sent off to city council today copies of all the petitions that were signed by local residents from the surrounding 2 or 3 blocks of the 220 North Park development. And that should be arriving now. We had a minor problem here where our stove exploded while we were sending it out. And secondly, I had a number of questions. Is the plans basically that are going to be adapted, the ones that which were presented in June or July, is that firm in terms of the density? Has there been any changes due to water management? We noticed that there were flags basically added to the property to show where the water ended up, but the seeps where the water actually enters on the hill, and that's where the water really comes from. And it comes from underground. It doesn't come from just rolling down the hill. If you spend any time this past week, you'll find that the water seeps up. The area higher than the water, where the water is seeping, is totally dry. So we've marked those with flags that are marked seep, just so that, but we haven't gotten all of them, but it gives you a basic sense where there are in case there is, because there hasn't been there hasn't been any communication with the people on the block who basically know the property. So that hasn't really improved at all. Question in terms of, it looks like there's assignability of the options, which means that Renovari can start the process, but any number of other people could end up actually owning the option. And that option is basically transferable like that without any input from you guys. The city has no choice in that case as long as whatever plans are initially put together. That means that you can end up in bed with somebody you might not want to end up in bed in. And that's most of my questions in terms of, is the plan currently finalized, or is this just the beginning of the process in terms of actually doing that? Outside of this, I'd like to mention that you may want to do some serious looking at maple trees in the tree lawns of the city. Just within this 2-block area, there are numerous trees. A lot of us have them in our backyards as well, that are in the process of dying. Some of them already have totally split barks. We've had some large branches come down at various times. And in past situations in other cities, when you start looking at major failure of a tree type, that quite often runs into a lot of expenses and a lot of labor. So you need to look at that as well as all the other things you're having to deal with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hagenauer.
If anyone else would like to make comments in the attendees list, please raise your hand now to address
This is the only
council.
time anyone can do it. So.
Interfaith Coalition and Peace and Justice has their hand raised. I'll allow them to speak now. You have 3 minutes to address council.
Oh, this is Desiree Simmons. I am calling in support of the resolution to repeal the ban on plastic bags that came up out of the Sustainability Commission. So I appreciate that council is considering that. And then I also am trying to learn more about the resolutions from the Police Advisory Commission, but in general, they in general look good or interesting and things that could be helpful in the community. So I look forward to hearing the conversation about that. And then also, I'm just and I was trying to figure out how this options this options letter or whatever, I'm trying to figure out where that fits or how that fits into the project, the timeline overall. the agreement, the different agreements, I'm trying to remember. Like, I know that there's a purchase agreement. I know, trying to figure out how this one fits in to that, and to now that this is coming forward again, then what that timeline is in terms of this community benefits ordinance. I feel like I don't know, I just lost 2 more council members. I'm not sure how this meeting is going, but anyway, thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
If anyone else in the attendees list would like to make comment, please raise your hand. Seeing none, council, if it's all right with you, we can move on to the next agenda item. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti that the resolution items be approved. Resolution number 2021-210, approving the minutes of September 21st, 2021. Resolution number 2021-211, approving ordinance 1383, an ordinance to amend chapter 78 Parks and Public Property of the Ypsilanti City Code of Ordinances, second reading.
Support.
It's been moved and supported.
Who was the mover?
Steve,
Steve with Councilmember Somerville as
the support.
I'll read the roll now. Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes,
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Mr. Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen.
Yes.
Motion carries with 6 yes and 1 absent. Council, moving on to the next resolution, resolution number 2021-212. Resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti, whereas the Ypsilanti Sustainability Commission passed a resolution urging city council to use its resources, such as the city lobbyists, to advocate for Senate Bill 0358 of 2021. And whereas Senate Bill 0358 would repeal Act 389 of 2016 that prohibited the restriction and regulation of auxiliary containers by local governments. And whereas plastic bags and other containers have a seriously negative impact on the environment and natural resources, affecting rivers, oceans, forests, lakes, and wildlife. And whereas microplastics collect in huge ocean garbage patches, the largest of which is referred to as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which at one time was the size of Texas. And whereas as plastics enter the food chain, they can be threatening to human life. And whereas in single stream recycling systems, plastic bags may become entangled in the machinery, often leading to breakdowns. And whereas plastics have the potential to clog sewer systems, further propagating the potential for flooding. And whereas as plastics enter landfills, they are either burned or buried, costing local jurisdictions thousands of dollars a year. Now therefore be it resolved that the city council of the city of Ypsilanti implores the Michigan State Senate and House to pass Senate Bill 0358 and for the governor to sign the bill into law and allow local governments to create ordinances to prohibit their use. Be it further resolved that the city council direct the city clerk to forward this resolution to Governor Whitmer, the Michigan State House, the Michigan Senate, the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners, and the city's lobbyist, Kirk Prophet.
So
I'll
move.
move. I'll support.
Support. Oh,
it's been moved,
I,
it's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Councilmember Somerville.
I would just like to say that I'm happy to support our state senator's bill to repeal the ban on plastic bag bans.
Okay. Any particular senator? Any particular state?
Yes, that would be Senator Irwin.
All right, thank you.
Of course.
Any other comments or questions, discussion? Is your hand up, Mr. Wilcoxen?
It is.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to thank Desiree for bringing this up. I think this is a significant issue because of the plastic, both as an environmental issue and also a political issue, in that the state has taken away the local jurisdiction's ability to manage their business. So, so thank you, Desiree.
I'll add thank you also to Ms. Simmons. Yes, thank you. Any other questions, comments, discussion? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Halinga, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Mr. Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Yes.
Motion carries with 6 yes and 1 absent. Moving on to the next item, council, resolution number 2021-213. Resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti, whereas the city of Ypsilanti adopted a special events policy, and pursuant to the policy, the city may co-sponsor an event if it is of general interest to the public and advances the city's public image. And whereas this year Ipsy Glow will take place Friday, October 29th in Riverside Park and various additional locations throughout the city. And whereas Ipsy Glow's event organizer is requesting that the city waive fees for the 2021 event and consider a donation. And whereas city council agrees that waiving the fees of the 2021 Ipsy Glow event would be in the general interest of the public and advance the city's public image. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ypsilanti City Council approves a request to waive park rental fees for the 2021 Ipsy Glow event in the amount of $2,420 and to donate $1,500 to assist in covering the event's expenses.
So move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Questions, discussion? Councilmember Somerville.
Just happy to see Ipsy Glow coming up on their 6th annual event. It's a good, fun First Friday. Well, it's not First Fridays this year that they're doing it actually, but sometimes it correlates with First Fridays. Just excited.
Thank you. Mr. Morgan.
I do think Ipsy Glow is a phenomenal event. They have like electric shows all around the state of Michigan, different places. I don't mind. This is just for the record. I don't mind us waiving fees for all the groups that we waive them for, but then I don't want to get into a habit of assisting with expenses. I think those are two separate, different things. I think most groups should have their expenses for their events and then have us, co-sign or help and waive. That's cool. So I would definitely support this, absolutely, because I know you supported a lot of groups. I think some of the groups in the future, I don't want to get these. I don't want to make them too big. I think it's one or the other. I think doing waiving fees or assisting, either or, but not both. But I support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion, comments? Mr. Jones Chance.
Yeah, I think my thinking's along the same vein. I really like Ipsy Glow. I think it's fantastic. And again, 2021 being a year where we're kind of getting in-person events and things back into gear, we do need a jump start. The donation bit does concern me a little, just because of, the precedent it may set in, our budget concerns. So I would like to know if they have applied for funds from any other groups, like the DDA. If anyone knows that, I'd like to figure that out. And, if not for our donation, would they still be able to have the event?
Okay, I see Mr. Myers popped up.
Yeah, so I do believe that IPSC Law has applied for funds for the DDA and have been awarded them.
In addition to the $1,500 or instead of the $1,500?
I believe, I don't know the exact amount, but I know that they have been awarded. They were awarded $2,500 from the DDA.
I
What's that?
see,
Oh,
Miss Esty, did you have something? I see you moved on my screen.
Yes, I just wanted to say that the reason that they're asking for the additional funds is they wanted to be able to have the Johnny Lawrence Jazz concert that they normally wouldn't be holding, and that's the reason they were asking for additional funds.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Any other comments or questions? Discussion? Mr. Wilcoxen?
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of in the same ballpark as Mr. Jones Chance and Mr. Morgan. Just like, you know, we get requests for money from lots of different places, and we've, you know, as the spreadsheet that was provided by Reagan and Andrew today. Yeah, I was just curious about how much money had been donated in that sense, or how many fees we waived. And I agree that waiving the fees is one thing, and supporting with dollars kind of late into the game. I mean, and this is the thing about a lot of these events, is that, you know, they come to us late in the game and say, you know, we need this money. And I was like, well, I don't know what kind of conversations were had previous to this, and what, you know, who they had talked to within the city about sponsoring these things. But I'm kind of at the same place. I'm willing to waive the fees, but am shy about approving money for events that could be funded other ways.
Do you want to make a friendly amendment, Steve? Or I guess I'm making an amendment, not a friendly amendment, sorry.
Yeah, I guess I'd make the amendment to remove the $1,500.
Support.
It's been moved and second for an amendment to this resolution. Mr. Langa, any discussion on the amendment?
Yes, discussion is permitted on an amendment.
I guess I would have some discussion on the amendment. Because of the timing of this, I will vote no on the amendment to remove that. I would vote yes on a resolution for that same amendment going forward from this time, but not for this event now, because it is right upon us. So, any other discussion on the amendment? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Morgan, did you have any discussion on the amendment? No. Okay, seeing none, call the roll, please, on the amendment.
Mayor Richardson,
No.
Councilmember Morgan,
A yes would be, no, I'm
Yes
saying,
would
a
be-
yes,
yes would be to remove the $1,500.
yes.
Mr. Jones Chance,
No,
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville.
Yes.
Motion carries with 4 yes, 2 no, and 1 absent.
Thank you. Are we ready for the vote on the original resolution?
I think so.
Well, I just want to make a note of reference on the fee waiver amount on the list that was given. It says for this event, it says 1,420, and on the resolution, it says 2,420.
What was forwarded to council today had the deposits removed. So those would only be the cost to the city.
Okay, thank you.
Council, should I proceed with the roll?
Please do.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Mr. Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson.
Yes.
Motion carries with 6 yes, 1 absence. Council, moving on to the next resolution, resolution number 2021-214. Resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti, whereas the city of Ypsilanti adopted a special events policy, and pursuant to the policy, the city may co-sponsor an event if it is in the general interest of the public and advances the city's public image. And whereas this year, the Christmas celebration will take place Saturdays, December 4th through 18th in Riverside Park. And whereas the Christmas celebration event organizer is requesting that the city be a co-sponsor of the 2021 concert series. And whereas city council agrees that becoming a co-sponsor of the 2021 Christmas celebration would be in the general interest of the public and advance the city's public image. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ypsilanti City Council approves the request to be a sponsor of the 2021 Christmas celebration in the amount of $10,443.74.
So move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Discussion. Mr. Morgan.
I think that's extensive. I think it's a little bit much. Have we supported this particular group before? I know it's a Christmas celebration, but this type of event, like what is this having? This is the same people with the summer jazz series, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Can we hear from Miss Esty? Please. Miss Esty.
The same event organizer. And the reason the fees are so high is it's a lot of work to create the ice skating rink. It requires a lot of equipment, manpower, and time.
Yeah, I think around Christmas time is I don't celebrate holidays like that, but I do think something like this would be, in theory, great for the city if we didn't have to pay for it. If something was brought to the city like this that was already paid for and we have to supplement, I probably wouldn't mind. I don't feel good about giving double ups for groups who've already received some of our support. So I won't be supporting this tonight, especially not. And I think this same group got, I don't know if this is, I don't want to go backwards, but I know we weighed $5,000 and gave about $10,000 to the same group. I don't want to do that again. I wish everybody the best who's organizing and have this in mind for our city. I thank you for wanting to bring this to our city, but I won't support this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Wilcoxen.
This is a hefty price tag. There's a lot of issues. The proposal that was forwarded to us didn't have a lot of things, a lot of details in it in terms of, the construction of the ice rink. Well, I'm just saying, I'm not gonna support this for a couple different reasons. One is the price tag. One is the fact that it's a Christmas celebration, and this leaves out folks who are not Christian. Or do not participate in the secular aspects of Christmas as well. I mean, this is a lot of money to be giving to one particular religion. I think the ice skating rink has been tried a couple times. tried in Rec Park, and keeping an outdoor rink going in even the coldest times takes a lot of work. And I think there's liabilities issues that aren't being covered here. So I won't be supporting this.
Thank you. Ms. Somerville.
Yeah, I just want to echo the same points that both Councilmember Morgan and Councilmember Wilcoxon pointed out. And yeah, that's about it. I won't be supporting it either.
Mr. Jones Chance.
Yeah, I mean, the price tag is steep, and, you know, compared to some of the other things, less of this seems sort of in kind. I mean, obviously we're providing labor and that has a cost, but it just seems a lot. Are there, I would ask the same question really that I asked last time, is has the group approached DDA for funds, seeing as this will be occurring in the district and will be of some benefit to businesses there? That might be another source of funding. I'm just trying to get a feel for how much of the need has been exhausted in terms of, you know, who's been asked to provide it. The other thing is just with the, you know, religious holidays. You know, I happen to be a Christian, as you all know, but I think it's a little exclusionary around holiday time. So maybe this is something I can have a chat with staff about, and just wanted to be sure that if we do approve events, that we also make sure to either seek out or approve of events from other religious groups or non-religious groups, just on an equal basis. Not saying that we wouldn't, but maybe we can be more inviting in that way. Yeah, the price tag seems steep, and maybe if Mr. Myers could tell us if they have requested anything from DDA, that would maybe help me a bit.
They are on the October DDA agenda. So we don't know exactly what the official ask is, but they will be going to that meeting.
Okay. I do know, and I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not declaring support or not support, but I do know that in the past, the city has had Christmas celebrations that were, you know, for everyone and partaken of by everyone. I know we used to have sponsored lights down in the in Riverside Park and some other festivities and things throughout the city. So is there any other, are the organizers here to give, to speak on behalf of this resolution? Mr. Jones Chance.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, seeing as maybe it would be good to move this to another agenda after the DDA meeting. I would just like for them to try to exhaust financial resources prior to coming to council. And, you know, and I hear the sort of holiday, everyone's welcome thing, but, you know, there's a difference between everyone being welcome and everyone being invited. And I think we should keep that in mind when we're, you know, in any kind of majority.
So are you making a motion to table this?
Well, actually, I guess if that meeting, it sounds like it's October 29th. Is that what I heard? And this is supposed to kind of kick off. Sorry, just trying to figure out if that even would line up with our first November meeting.
First November meeting
It's the second.
correct, the second, and this, it appears that this
This
would
is
be December
December?
4th through the 18th.
Yeah, then I guess I would move for that we table this until November 2nd.
Is there a second on that motion? Okay. Seeing and hearing no second, that motion to table dies. Okay. Is there any other discussion? Are you ready to vote?
Ready to vote?
Okay, Mr. Halinga, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Jones Chance,
No.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
No.
Councilmember Somerville,
No.
Mayor Richardson,
No.
Councilmember Morgan.
No.
Motion fails with 6 no votes, 0 yes votes.
I would like to say that I would like that the organizers to possibly look at this and bring it back at another time, maybe another year. I know that, and with maybe a smaller ask. Mr. Myers, I see you're there. Did you have something for us, please?
Just the
No?
next one, the next agenda item.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you.
Council, moving on to the next item, resolution number 2021-215, resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti. Whereas the city of Ypsilanti owns the 220 North Park property and is in the process of working with Renovare Development to redevelop the site. And whereas public engagement sessions happened on a conceptual site plan in June 2021. And whereas the Ypsilanti City Council approved the development concept proposed by Renovare Development and directed staff to enter into negotiations with the developer in July 2021. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ypsilanti City Council approves the options agreement with Renovare Development LLC and authorizes the city manager to sign the agreement.
So moved.
Support.
Questions, discussion?
Matt,
Presentation?
Can I give a little bit of a presentation? please,
Yes,
Mayor?
please do.
Hi, council. As you all know, we have been working really diligently on the potential redevelopment at 220 North Park. I do have Shannon Morgan and Jill Ferrari on the call if we do need them. But where we left off was at the end of July. We went into negotiations to figure out what the best way was to get the developer site control so they could actually work towards redeveloping it and get some of the hard due diligence done. We're almost there. We almost have a lot of the civil work done. OHM should be getting us the final. I just learned a new term, DIPS, to actually complete some of the financial projections, and from there we can actually proceed to the public engagement sessions. And sorry, my cat almost bit it. So we can proceed to the public engagement sessions as well as the brownfield, requests. But the first step is the option. This was the best and the best way per our legal counsel and our and Renovare's legal to proceed. It gives them some legal control while still having to come back for a developer agreement and things like that. And working with Renovare, the main reason why there is a transferability in the agreement, which was brought up by Mr. Hagenauer, was when a developer gets started and when they actually start the development, there are typically two different LLCs. And speaking with Renovare, I would actually request a slight amendment to the transferability, whereas it would be transferred, like it could be transferred as long as Renovare was a majority ownership in the company or something like that. Mr. Barr deals with that all the time, but their goal isn't to get the option and leave. Their goal is to get the option to develop but there are different legal entities when it comes to developing, and people who sell houses. It all gets a little bit different. And so that was the reason for the transferability, not to buy it, to dump it. So that's one thing I would request it be changed pending Mr. Barr's review. But I don't know if anyone has any questions. I can go over the timeline again if everyone wants to know that. We've gone over it a couple times, but I think it might be helpful.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful to actually see, because I know that once we're in, like, once we signed what we signed last time, that doesn't mean we can still get out of this at any time. Is that correct, Joe?
So once we get into an option, we can't market this property to anyone else.
Okay.
So we are committed to working with Renovare on this development. Now, if the deal falls through, it falls through. There are still ways to do that. However, we are working together, and just like we did at our last meeting, we didn't actually sign a legal document, but we said we approve of the concept, and we'll enter into negotiations. Now it would be entering into the option. So basically, we now are saying we're going to work with Renovare. We've seen their concept. We like it. It will be tweaked. And it will have to be approved by Planning Commission and City Council and Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners. What I can do and what I will do, I can go over it right now, but I will say I can put together the actual timeline. Once again, it's just an estimate because, what, Anthony, sorry.
No. I'm saying I'm clear with the timeline from the time I met with you to the time you can repeat it, but I'm saying I think it'd be good just to see, because I want to know where we are along the process. I know we're still moving forward, but I want to ask a different question. The purchase price is $250,000. Is that the asking price, or is that the total worth of the property that they plan on building on?
So that is what we put in there based on what our assessor deemed the value of the property as.
You're talking about the property of where the building is, 220 North Park, but the development is going to do some excavating and open a lot of that up, correct?
Yes. So there's the cost of the land value right now, which per our community benefits ordinance is determined by our city assessor. They have determined the value at $250,000. So that is the value of the land. Now, when we actually do the development, that land will be worth much more than that based on the improvements made for that development. But we have to go off what it's worth now.
Okay, help me clear that up for me. So I'm saying they pay hypothetically, they'll pay $250,000 for that site, even though they're looking to develop around that site, which is much more. But once you say that how much it's going to cost for them, once they get on the site and they look around, and it's going to probably, it's going to be much more money there. I'm saying for the property and everything, correct?
So
like $250,000 is just for the site. I'm saying, but we're talking about building all around. It seems as if it's going to be a heavy project, a multi-million-dollar project. That's why I don't understand how they could just start buying it with $250,000.
So you start buying the land, and then the developer, Renovare, actually works with banks to get additional financing to put down the infrastructure, which costs a lot of money. And that's really where a lot of the money comes. It's the road, sewer, water, infrastructure. So they find a bank to finance that, and then they divide up the land, put on the houses, and then each house is not going to be sold for, the lot isn't going to be $250,000. It'll be much less per lot, but then with a house and with all the infrastructure, the price will be dependent on the market and based on the area median income. So the land as it sits right now with no improvements is $250,000. The land after this is going to be worth much more than that, but as the assessor determines, the water, sewer, and infrastructure actually add to the value of the property. Am I confused? I'm sorry.
You're not confusing me, but I'm listening to what you're saying and how you're saying it. And I'm not saying you're trying to confuse me. I'm just, and a lot of stuff I don't know about the development, so I'm ignorant to some of this. I'm just, in my mind, it's going to be a multi-million-dollar project with multiple homes on it, costing millions and millions of dollars, but they can buy the actual small part, which is just the building, for $250,000, when they're going to probably do that much work in excavating and digging and looking around. I know, so that's what I'm saying. So, okay, I just want to know how we came up with that one number, and it's going to be a multi-million-dollar. But I'll let other council people ask questions. I'm just in the dark here, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Jones Chance, is that your hand up?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same thing I said when the Washington Street came up. As far as the assignment, you know, if this were a normal, just a development transaction between two private parties, yeah, that's one thing. Where the seller has no remaining interest after the fact. And obviously that's a little different in a municipal transaction. So I think that we need to approve any assignment. And I think the assignments need to come before council. And we can approve them at that time. And then we won't, obviously, we won't withhold that approval unreasonably. But I don't like the idea of just having a blanket clause where as long as they're a majority partner, then it's all good. I want it to come before council, whomever the assignee turns out to be. I think that makes more sense and gives us some not unreasonable oversight. And I feel like their council will probably be okay with that, the same as Avalon's was. Otherwise, I think it looks okay. And you know, might be good for us to finally move forward on this.
Mr. Jones Chance, can I ask a quick question, a follow-up question on that?
Sure. I'm still here.
What if, so what if it's, and okay, let's say it's the same exact ownership, just a different LLC.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd like to know about it.
Okay. Mayor, I think Steve had a question.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Wilcoxen, I didn't see your hand.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Joe. No, I was just going to ask that question about how we would do that, and Brian kind of answered it for me the same way we did it for Avalon. So, and the question was really for Mr. Barr in terms of, you know, do we need to have an amendment now to change that, or we stipulate that and pass the resolution as what's the parliamentary procedure for doing that?
In this situation, what I would recommend is if you want to pass the resolution that you do it, and it would be subject to the approval of the city attorney, and make it clear that the approval has to have a reasonable provision for acceptance of any transfer.
So
And then
that
I could draft the language, and it would be something like the deal could be transferred subject to the reasonable approval of city council, something like that.
So there needs to be an amendment to the resolution to include that assignment.
That would be one way to do it if you wish, yes.
What would be the other way? Just pass it and you'd take care of it.
Yes, right. But
All
you'd mention in your vote, you know, that's what you want. But why don't you do it with a resolution? That would be cleaner.
Then I make an amendment to the resolution 2021-215 to include the conditions that Mr. Barr just said. Where would this go?
Assignment would be approval by city council, the reasonable approval.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Barr. Is there a second?
So that's it. Would you-
Support.
Support that.
Okay. I was going to ask you to state it again, but so there was a second. Mr. Halinga, did you get that motion?
I have Councilmember Wilcoxen moves, seconded by Councilmember Somerville to add a reasonable approval of city council to assignments of the development. Did I capture what the motion was?
Is that what it should be, Mr. Bauer?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. So it's been moved and second to amend this resolution. And the resolution was just read by the city clerk. Mr. Jones Chance.
Yeah, so my next thing here is just a fairness question, you know, unlike a normal transaction where you would, you know, approve the assignment, you know, by email and it takes 20 minutes. You know, there could be a significant, or at least a not insignificant amount of time between council meetings. Would it be fair to maybe give them the to add some provision where they can extend the agreement by 1 or 2 weeks if an assignment takes place? Presumably, they would notify us enough in advance that we would be able to have the meeting and have the question settled prior to them needing it. In fact, it might be the case that they already know what these entities are. So I don't know, I think that might be something to think about doing.
Mr. Myers. You're muted. We can't hear you.
Hello?
Hello, now we can.
Sorry, my cat's been being a little bit rambunctious again. So the only concern that Redebar really has is that they will have to come right back because once they get closer to the actual financing is when the new LLC comes in. It will be the same exact partners, but it will be a new LLC. So that's kind of, it would be literally within the next 2 meetings. So I don't know if they need an extension for anything like that, but that is the biggest concern because it could delay the project financing. So I think that's why they would prefer to actually have it be approved by the city attorney and the city manager, but it is council's call.
Mr. Jones Chance.
I mean, I guess they're just looking for a name to put on the application for the financing, or, you know, what's the, well, I'm guessing they'll need a resolution from us with the correct name on the option agreement for the financing. So, but we've got a pretty good due diligence period here. So what is, I mean, I appreciate them wanting to get as much done in one go as possible and have these things happening simultaneously, but realistically, what is the timeline and how much time would actually be lost if this didn't come up again until October 19th?
They're fine with letting it go. It's something that they would have preferred just to make it a little bit easier. And working with one people is different than working with the city attorney, the city clerk, myself, and then getting it back on a council agenda. There is time involved in that, but they're good. That was a request they made in doing it, but they are okay with the alternative.
Okay, well, you know, I guess if you don't ask, you don't get.
Ms. Somerville.
Yeah, just for the purposes of like folks that are here for more timelines. We approved this tonight, and the earliest that the community benefits ordinance will be triggered is when, Joe?
So when we get the final numbers of the civil engineering, I'm really sorry. With the numbers of the civil engineering, then we can have a final number for the brownfield count. We have a meeting with the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority sometime this week, with the staff there to actually put together a timeline to that. But once they officially request the incentive, we will then immediately go into the Community Benefits Ordinance Committee to do the public engagement required there, as well as their due diligence site prepped. From there, then we go into site approval. And realistically, it's a 6-month period of the option, but my guess is it'll go much more quickly than that because a lot of the due diligence and legwork has been done. And from there, we're talking, hopefully shovels the ground May, but it could take a little bit longer. And I will put together an official timeline from there and to get it out to council by the end of the week, just showing what I think the estimated timeline will be. It is subject to change, please know that. But with the approvals, CBO 60 days, planning commissions 30 days. The land division and HDC I'll have in within 30 days roughly. And so there's a lot of approvals that have to go through. But once we get started, it happens very quickly.
Gotcha. Thank you. And sorry, I was laughing at your cat, not at what you were saying.
She has never done this in my entire career and she will not stop.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Mr. Wilcoxon? No? Okay. All right, seeing none, Mr. Halinga, would you call the roll on the amendment?
Council, this is the roll call for the amendment. Mr. Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan.
Yes.
Motion carries with 6 yes and 1 absence.
Thank you. Is there further discussion on the original resolution? Okay, seeing none, would you call the roll on the resolution, please?
Councilmember Wilcoxon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Mr. Jones Chance.
Yes.
Motion carries with 6 yes, 1 absence.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wilcoxon?
Who is John and the participants?
That is John Lawrence.
Okay,
Council, moving on with the agenda. The next section is Board and Commission's communications. The Ypsilanti Police Advisory Commission forwarded 2 resolutions to City Council to consider. One is a resolution urging City Council to urge the proper Washtenaw County authorities to develop a policy for free calls from individuals in Washtenaw County, to establish a city policy to aid and assist individuals with their criminal record expungements. 3, to develop a city police policy concerning open records for the hiring of prospective police officers for the city of Ypsilanti. And then another resolution requesting removal of Commissioner Precious Turman from the Police Advisory Commission. Concerning the second resolution, staff did reach out to Commissioner Turman, who indicated that she was planning on resigning. However, she has yet to send a formal resignation. And then the other resolution, it's up to the Borough Council.
discussion. Mr. Wilcoxon, did I see your hand up quickly or no? Okay, Ms. Somerville.
Oh, Mr. Barr had his hand raised, so I'm gonna let him go first.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see. Mr. Barr.
In regard to the first resolution about free telephone calls from people in Washtenaw County, I suspect that what they meant was people in the county jail, but I'm not sure.
I would tend to agree with that. Because it's just in Washtenaw County, so. Is there anyone here from the Police Advisory Commission that could help us with that?
I could get somebody.
Okay, if you
Give me a
would.
moment.
We'll excuse you. Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Ms. Somerville?
Yeah, I think for the purposes of time, I mean, if this is something that someone else supports, I would be happy to take one other council person, help me get a resolution drafted for us to urge the Washtenaw County Commissioners to adopt a policy, because I think that's what would need to happen. We wouldn't have any authority over Women's Huron Valley or the federal facility.
I would support that. I would support that.
Awesome. And then in terms of item B, we have established policies for that in the recreational marijuana ordinance. So if someone will also support directing staff to update us on how much we have remaining in our social equity funds through our ordinance. One of the elements that we included in that was that it would be used for things like expungement. And then I think we should consider ways to help aid the Washtenaw County Prosecutor's Office, because they are leading the effort with free expungement clinics throughout the county. And maybe we can offer space either at the Freight House or at City Hall, maybe Park Ridge, other places throughout the city, the senior center.
Get the fuck over.
Regarding item C, I think that is going to be super complicated, because I asked questions about this at the joint meeting that we had, and there are state laws that prevent us from getting all of those records. So I think maybe we should bring, if someone wants to support this, we can have a resolution to encourage the state legislature to improve that policy. I forwarded everybody draft language for a bill that's been working through MML that would do this. So if someone wants to support that, we could have Andrew draft a resolution for us to encourage the state legislature to pass legislation. And if you all need me to re-forward that, I think I had Andrew forward that to everybody about a month ago.
I remember that, I do remember that you forwarded to us, and I will definitely support that.
Awesome.
Okay, so Mr. Wilcoxon.
Gail is logging on at the moment. If I understand correctly, this is a discussion item and we can bring this back as resolutions at the next meeting? Correct.
Yeah.
I move to do that. I want to have more conversations on these.
And then council, if I may, the Police Advisory Commission next will meet, I believe, the 28th of October. So this will allow Commissioner Turman a little bit more time to sign, to submit that resignation. However, if they do not, I can prepare a resolution for council to approve removing her. A 2014 charter amendment provides council the authority to remove board or commission members with a supermajority, so that would be 5 votes in the affirmative. So if it's the will of council, if she does not submit her resignation, I can bring that forward.
Awesome.
Mr. Kalinga, would you please prepare that resolution for the next meeting? Giving her the opportunity to submit her resignation. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Somerville.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, so for all of the items, it sounded like there was support from at least one other person so that we could actually have an action item, a resolution for us to vote on at the next meeting. So I just want to make sure that I have this right. So we will have something, language to urge the Washtenaw County Commission to develop a policy for free phone calls for the Washtenaw County Jail. And then we're also going to have an update and a resolution that would probably be a budget amendment. So maybe we need to have a budget update from Reagan and then a budget amendment ready to go with a blank in it for the amount. And then for item C, a resolution regarding the language in the draft bill that I sent the clerk. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. And they'll have an
think
item
you-
for each of those.
I
Okay.
think you summed them up quite
Okay,
well.
I just want to make sure that I wasn't, just in terms of like timeline, so we can actually vote on something.
All right,
Cool, thanks.
thank you. Is Ms. Wolkoff on yet?
She's having a hard time, and if the only thing we're getting her for is the wording in that, we can resolve that before the
Yeah.
resolution gets put on our agenda. So
All right.
we can take care of that.
Okay. Thank you. So, Mr. Halinga, would you prepare those resolutions for us for
It's
the
all right.
next meeting, please? Thank you.
Yes, I will.
One other
Council
thing,
for-
oh,
Ms.
sorry,
Somerville,
Andrew. I was just gonna ask, I don't know if we need to like make a formal motion, but could you also make sure that the commissioners get notified of those agenda items being on our next council agenda?
Yes, I'll
Thank
make
you.
sure to notify.
right, thank you. Okay.
Council, if you are ready, we can move on to the next section of the agenda, which is board and commission liaison reports. And the first being Police Advisory Commission, which is probably just some.
Well, we just summed a lot of that up. I think our next meeting is in October. Only thing I wanted to bring up, again, when it comes to some of the items that's on there, they are, I don't know about jurisdictional authority when it comes to us. I guess we can urge people, but it, you know, and I know some of these things were brought up from people with on the YPAC. And I do believe that some of these issues are interesting to some of the commissioners, you know, as far as being interested in giving action items to what we can really work on within the city and how it develops a better relationship between Ypsilanti citizens and our law enforcement. So those things are always in the back of my mind, and some of these action items I support. And our next meeting is, I believe, you just stated it, October 20 something. I don't know it for the record.
29th.
I want 29th, and I want to apologize for the French I was using as I was driving. Pardon me.
We excuse you.
Council, moving on to the next item, Human Relations Commission.
My apologies, you all. The meeting this month has not happened yet, so I don't have a report.
Arts Commission.
I do not have an update.
Parks and Recreation Commission.
I don't have an update at this time. The Sustainability Commission has their meeting next week. So I'll have more at our next meeting. And I just want to thank Commissioner Desiree Simmons for bringing the resolution to us this week. So.
Historic District Commission. I
Ms. Simmons,
apologize, that's Commissioner, that's Councilmember Simmons. So we'll move on to
Right,
the
he's not
next.
here.
Planning Commission.
Planning Commission meets next on the 20th. ZBA has not yet met.
All right, Council, moving on to the next section of the agenda, liaison reports, first being SEMCOG.
SIMCOG did not have a meeting. They had a couple of outings.
Okay, Washtenaw Area Transportation Authority, I believe that is Councilmember Simmons, so we'll move on to Urban County.
There's a meeting tomorrow.
Ypsilanti Downtown Development Authority.
We have not met since our last meeting, so there's nothing new to update.
And Friends of Rutherford Pool.
I was at the pool last Friday. to help hang a donor plaque. Things are happening there. The company that redid the floors in the bathhouse, there were a number of issues with some material that had been left on the floor. It looks like chunks of concrete on a bare floor. And so the company that did that flooring is going to replace all of the flooring in the building at their own expense. So that project will be going forward at some point. I talked with the head of the chair of the board, and she has brought up a couple issues regarding the original MOU between the city and the Friends of Rutherford Pool, as well as city charges for HR functions for the pool. And so she and I will be requesting a meeting with city manager to go over those two things. So that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, council, the next is council proposed business.
Okay, I'll start with Mayor Pro Tem.
Nothing tonight. I owe Bonnie a phone call. And I know that, Bonnie, and I will call you tomorrow.
Thank you. Let's see. Mr. Wilcoxon.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been contacted by local residents trying to get trees trimmed, and so I wanted to ask Ron how that schedule is looking. She's called in a couple times and she's sent me information. So I'm just wondering if we have the ability to get through those trees before harsher weather comes. Apparently, as Mr. Hagenauer had said earlier in public comment, a lot of trees are just dropping limbs even when there isn't inclement weather. So
I'm gonna have to take a look at our tree list to see where we're at. I don't specifically know where we're at off the top of my head, but I could take a look. If you would like to forward me that residence address, I can make sure that it gets taken a look at.
sure, I pointed her to the reporting link on the website, so she may have put it through there, but I'll just forward the email to you later on.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Just wanted to say that I attended the MML conference in Grand Rapids week before last with Mayor Richardson and City Manager McMullen and Joe Myers and Andrew Halenga. It was a very interesting meeting. I'm used to going to science meetings, and this was not a science meeting. This was actually, very enjoyable people talking about things that are, very relevant to our city. And I've gotten a deeper appreciation for MML and what they do for municipalities. And I would encourage other people to go to these conferences as well. So I can update people individually. So if you're interested, give me a call. Thanks.
While Mr. Wilcoxon is talking about the convention, we did attend I'll just add it here. We did attend a session on wealth building, community wealth building. And I think I had mentioned it once to some of some council members that I would like to have them to come and do a session with our council. This was before they did 2 or 3 sessions with the executive board of the Michigan Black Caucus of Local Elected Officials. And it was interesting, and I got a fuller understanding with the presentation that was given at the convention. It's amazing how Ypsilanti is always on just a little bit ahead and many of the things that they were talking about doing, some of them we are already doing it. But I think that they could, a presentation would help us come up with some other things that would move us forward in community wealth building. So, but I do also echo him in saying it would be nice to have other council members get more involved in the league. They actually do a lot for our city and for the municipalities that they represent. So, thank you.
I do want to add to that, exactly that. In a lot of the sessions, when people were talking about, issues in their city and things like that, is like, I realized how far Ypsilanti is ahead of the curve. Just in multiple sessions, I just went, yeah, we've already done that. This is what it is. And it was great because I could talk to people about what we've tried and what was successful and what was not. And it led to some great discussions with folks from all around the state. So.
Right. It really did. So I guess I first recognized that back when Ed Carisno was the city manager and we were working towards that big financial fall nationwide. But Ed had been gradually moving things out of our budget and making way. So when the crash actually happened, we were all prepared and in a very good way to handle. We had some other financial issues that came up at the time, but as far as the crash, we were in good position. And I even kind of not really jokingly, but kind of half jokingly mentioned to Ed that to help us through that crisis, that we could actually market the plan that he has set up for us to put us in a position where we weren't really affected by it. So, but it's really good then. I know from time to time, I've heard Mr. Bauer also comment on the fact how Ypsilanti always thinks that we're a step ahead, and let's stay that way. So, anything else, Mr. Wilcoxon? No?
Not at
Okay.
this time.
All right, thank you. Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mayor. Only have one or two items, not a lot. The first is the exchange between the council and the school system, between the superintendent and the city manager, will take place October 22nd. Since it couldn't take place October 1st, at the halftime of the senior game on the 22nd. So whatever you guys were going to do when it comes to sending your sizes, whatever you wanted for swag, please make sure you email me in that chain so I can forward them to Dr. Reeves for that game. I do want to say a public thank you to Mr. Hagenauer for his always consistent, thoughtful, well-researched letters and notes, and in additions to what we already have. So I hope the developers are taking some notes from some of the constituents that have been clear and consistent in their voice and their opinions. I just want to say thank you to Desiree Simmons also, who has been consistently engaged in the processes. And I would like to know more. I know according to the CI, no, not the CI, the newsletter about the redistricting process that Clerk Kalinga will be taking us through or informing us about. I'm interested in that, and just wanted to make a note of the police activity report with some of the trends. It seemed like some of the numbers are going down, even though some of the actions are still up. And I just wanted to get some feedback about some of these trends, like the arrests, and the other numbers are kind of going down. I wonder, was it the weather? Was it special detective work, or just our citizens? Or just, I wanted to know something about why these numbers are changing like they are. But that's the business I have for tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is the chief on this call?
No, counsel, he is not.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna ask him if he could maybe respond to Mr. Morgan's. I also noticed that same thing, Mr. Morgan, and had some of those same questions about the numbers going down, which is good, okay? Mr. Jones Chance.
Yeah, I actually don't have much. I did have some similar questions about the report, and I do wonder if at some point we can get historical numbers from the police department as well. And just more robust reporting in general. I think the ones we've been getting recently have been a little bit more detailed. But I would like to see that going forward.
All right, thank you. Ms. Somerville.
Thank you. I have a few things. First, I would like to move to nominate Brian Merlos to the Parks and Rec Commission.
Support.
Cool. Thank you. And then next, I brought this up a while ago about getting a bench to place at Prospect Park with a memorial to Pete and Grace. I don't know how to go about that in terms of purchasing the bench. There's some folks, we've been trying to work on doing some sort of cleanup day this fall. And I guess, I know I brought it up before. I don't know. I don't know the best way to do that. So if anyone has any ideas, let me know.
Okay, so would this be a bench supported by the community? Or are you asking city funds?
Well, my idea was that we would dedicate a bench to Pete and Grace and place it at Prospect Park. So it would be something that we produce and fund and put by Pete's tree. So I guess maybe I should just request some sort of proposal to be on our next agenda with the support of another person, maybe, so we can get money and maybe it would involve Ron to pull some numbers on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say that,
Awesome.
Councilmember, to prepare a resolution to that end.
Awesome. So if anyone would like to support that, or I can twist arms after the call and try to get support.
I
Oh,
would-
Steve, are you gonna support that? Cool.
Yeah, I support them.
Awesome. Cool. So I'll follow up with Ron then. And then,
Before you leave off of that, I'd like to ask for some input from Mr. Barr on that. As regarding the funds.
I can do some further research on it. The rule is that the city cannot make gifts, but the city can spend money for memorials for different purposes. It's a little complicated. I think it would be all right. I'll do some research and get back to council shortly on it. There's also a possibility there may be some money from the Friends. That's still
yeah,
kind of in limbo, but
I owe
perhaps we
you
can
a phone call, Mr. Barr.
work something out on that.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, thank you. I just
Okay.
wanted to get that cleared. Yes, thank you.
Awesome. And then just generally, I think it would be really great if we could have a work session to discuss speeding and ways to overcome the speeding that is occurring throughout the city. Because it's not gonna, even people getting pulled over for speeding doesn't stop speeding from happening. So I know one of the battles we have in Ypsi is our snowplow equipment for reasons why we can't have permanent speed bumps. So I would like to start thinking of what we need to do to start planning long-term to get maybe new equipment so that we can eventually get permanent speed bumps in our neighborhoods. River Street in particular, people speed relatively in the, I would say between 50 and 60 miles per hour on River Street. I cross River Street daily. Lots of folks in Ypsilanti do, and this happens everywhere, but River Street is something that I experience daily, and it is insane how fast people are going. Someone is going to get hurt. I don't care if we have to put orange cones throughout the entire city to just make it harder for people to speed, but I would like to come up with creative solutions. We just, I don't know, it's just embarrassing how bad the speeding is. And especially when the streets were closed in Depot Town, River Street and Forest it gets worse when that happens. And then now that the street's open and Cross, it's going to be worse down Cross because the road was repaired last summer up the hill east, and folks like to speed down the hill through Depot Town, over the bridge. Even with all the potholes on the bridge, people still speed through there. So it's super dangerous. So I don't know if other folks are interested, but I would like to have a serious conversation of ways to improve pedestrian safety with respect to speed throughout the city. That, yeah, some of this is going to be long-term planning. So just throwing that out there. I also just wanted to highlight that Park Ridge Park, so our parks, well, really DPS, will be awarded funds to improve the softball diamond at Park Ridge Park from the state of Michigan. It was a project that your state senator requested in conversations with community members, particularly Brian Foley. So excited about that. And that is all I have.
All right, thank you. And yes, yes to I certainly agree on the speeding. Speeding is terrible across the city. And you're saying 50, 60, and they're doing 70 on 2nd Avenue. So yes, I think we do need to try to get a handle on speeding. I'm not sure exactly how we can do that, but I believe that we need to. And Mr. Wilcox,
Oh,
is
sorry,
your
I
hand
missed.
up to speak? Oh, I'm sorry.
I missed one thing on my list. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just would like to know when we are going to get some sort of guidance from staff that outlines the process and when we can start doing some public engagement around ARP funds. One thing in particular, I know that I only speak for myself, but I would like staff to give us a detailed maybe like memo on things that we can offer in terms of public engagement, so we can have some focused discussions on what is allowed through the act. Yeah, and that's all.
Okay, and that was one of the things down my list also, that we need to start having those. And I did get an updated list of from Congresswoman Dingell's office on things that have been added to that, and I will share that with I will pass that on to council and to staff. Okay, I think that's all of council. Mr. Wilcoxon, was your hand up?
Yeah, there was one thing that I forgot to mention, regarding public engagement. There was originally a town hall regarding the dam removal scheduled for tomorrow night. For various reasons, that's been postponed. There was an alert that went out on the city website and on the Facebook page, but basically we're expecting information from the engineers and from the Watershed Council that would be good to include in any next meeting. And so that meeting has been postponed until early November. We haven't set a date for that. I meet with the Public Engagement Committee tomorrow night instead to go over what the format of that will look like and you know, other information regarding that meeting. And so once we come up with a date for that, that'll get posted as well. So thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Comments from the mayor. We have Mr. John E. Lawrence promoted to our meeting at the last meeting, September 21st, and there was a bit of confusion. That was supposed to have been changed to this meeting, as I was not going to be at the last meeting, nor the city manager, but for the reading of the proclamation to Mr. Lawrence. But I welcome him here tonight and just wanted to have him to be present for the reading of the proclamation. I'm not going to read it all, but I did want to make a special mention of it. The city, I believe, was at a place where we could have gone into deep depression. We had been locked up for over a year. And Mr. Lawrence called me, and he started the conversation by saying that he wanted to do a give back concert for the city because he, as I think everybody on this call probably meeting knows, that he is he was born here and raised here in the city of Ypsilanti. And he just wanted to give back to the city. And as we talked, then that one concert grew to another concert and then another concert. And before the conversation was over, we know that it grew to 10 concerts. I am still getting calls and people stopping me when they see me in the store to talk about what how good that was for the city, that it was just something that they needed. And the numbers grew up to over 1,000. People were coming from not just here in the city or the immediate surrounding territories, but people were coming from Farmington Hills and Southfield. People were coming from as far away as Kalamazoo, Milan, and even there were one night, some people told me that they were from Ohio. So I think that it was a real benefit to the city and to the residents of the city. So I just want to read the last little part of the resolution to Mr. Lawrence, since he did not get to hear the whole thing. But there will be a hard copy available for you, Mr. Lawrence. Thank you so very much. Whereas the purpose of the series was to bring the community together after a year of canceled and virtual events due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And now, therefore, I, Lois Allen Richardson, Mayor of the City of Ypsilanti, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Ypsilanti, supports the John E. Lawrence Jazz Series, and thank you for your give back to the city, not just with one concert, but with a summer that was uplifting to the entire community. And it's given under my hand and seal of the City of Ypsilanti. So thank you so much, Mr. Lawrence. Thank you for remembering the city and wanting to give back. And we understand that you have already reserved the park for next summer. So we look forward to good jazz series again. And even though we're not in Frog Island Park, it's still the Frog Island Jazz Series. So thank you so very much and appreciate you.
And I want to thank the City Council for standing behind me and making this possible. And the DDA, actually, there's a lot of people behind it that made it a success. City manager, and but I just want to thank everybody for believing in me and that I'm happy that it turned out as well as it did.
Thank you. We are too. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Some of the things that I had in mind for my comments were was one, I have several of them. I already piggybacked off on some of what other council members have said. So, but one is, not long ago, I had a couple of residents call me and with questions about letters that they had received from the city where there had been code enforcement, and they were there were things that they didn't understand and questions that they couldn't get answers to. So I called and spoke to the inspector, and I was told after that, that was something that I was not allowed to do. And I did, in talking with another council person, they said, he told me that he also had reached out to city staff and was informed that that was something that he, council was not allowed to do. I don't know about all, I can't speak for all council people, but I know that the council people that I was elected by, they look to me and they consider that our council people are the people that they should be able to go to get understanding or to represent them, to advocate for them. And if we're not allowed to do that, I would like to present before council and ask us to begin to consider adding an ombudsman to our staff so that people do have someone that they can reach out to, that they can go directly to, and that person would be able to advocate for them or to intercede for them. So I'm just throwing it out there for council to begin to think about, please. The other is, I guess that goes along with code enforcement. I do have a question because I've been getting this question a lot over the last several weeks and months. And that question is the inspector allowed to go into closed, are they allowed to open gates and go into backyards?
The inspector's allowed to observe backyards. We typically don't go into backyards, but we are allowed to enforce on things that we can see from the road, from the sidewalk.
So basically, they're not allowed to open a closed private fence, privy fence?
I think it depends on if it's open. Mr. Barr's here. I think he's probably the best one to answer.
Okay.
Well, the answer is it all depends on the circumstances. Normally, if the city wants to go into a private residence for any purpose and they don't have other ability to do so, we would get a search warrant. When the inspector is in the house doing a building code inspection, the inspector does have the right to look around and see what the building is, how it's constructed. And sometimes you'll get into a situation, does the inspector have the right to open a safe? Well, obviously not. But could they open up the closet door that holds a furnace? Well, then the answer would be probably yes.
Okay, this is residential, non-rental property, correct?
Yes, it's the same thing. The residential property also has to comply with the building code.
Okay, thank you. All right, the other thing, only other thing is, oh gosh, in the note, it's up, I'm not quite sure what my thoughts were on that, so. Okay, that's it for me tonight. Thank you.
Council, the next item on the agenda is communications from the city manager.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Excuse the background noise. Most of my report can be found in the council information letter that you should have received. The CIL, I made several announcements in there. Some that I want to bring to light is specifically a change in our some of our HR, our HR role. That's the one thing that's major. It is bittersweet to announce that Kim Jones is leaving the city for an HR manager position closer to home. I'd like to report that I have begun, I've set up interviews already. And so once I'm back in town, interviews will begin to fill that position. Her last day is October 21st. The other staff change is we will be adding our communications manager to staff. We made an offer and our candidate has accepted. So we will be adding another new face to City Hall. Also want to report on the social worker position. We did do some interviews based on those that were qualified. We were not successful. We did offer a position, but it was declined. And so I'm deciding if we will open it up again. I do have some other ideas that I will bring to council and how we can possibly fulfill that role. I've been talking with some people here at ICMA and some other city managers and how they are actually moving forward with bridging the police, law enforcement with social work. And so I will be presenting something in the future to council so that we can fulfill that desire to have those two marry and be a part of our police department. So in the interest of time, I am going to conclude my report and just ask you to refer to the CIL. And if you got any questions, feel free to email me. I will respond to your email. Thanks.
Council, the next item on the agenda is communications. The one communication is it will be a 6 p.m. Start time for the October 19th meeting for a work session with the AAATA. And then the next section is adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
There's a
Or-
second. It's been moved and second that that the meeting be adjourned at 8:42. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Meeting is adjourned.